Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. Okay, everyone. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Thank you, my friends, for being here. This Sangha is my mission in life. So I'm always overjoyed when I see subscribers, the subscriber count slowly climbing. If you're watching these videos and you're getting anything out of them, I appreciate your liking them. That's very important for the YouTube thing. But subscribing helps immensely, not for my popularity, but for the reach of the resource of this channel to get to others. It's just something we have to deal with on YouTube, right? I don't advertise. YouTube advertises, but it's not like the old days of television broadcast where, remember, television, most of you may not, used to be free. You didn't have to pay a monthly cable bill or a monthly HBO bill or a monthly whoever cable bill. It was just in the air. It was free because they made all their money, and plenty of it, selling advertising to get you to buy X, Y, Z. But these days, you can do, although it's more available to more people and therefore a much larger pool of profit, the entities who create broadcasting media, I guess technically media would be you and I now doing these things, but I mean media as in the corporate broadcasting entities who make this available to more people are figuring out how to just make more and more money because now they charge we individuals a fee for being able to connect with one another. So all of that is to say that if we want to reach more people so that we can spread Nichiren's doctrine of Lotus Sutra Buddhist practice and the correct transmission of Shakyamuni's teachings, we need to exploit these vehicles, although it costs us, and make it work for the good of spreading this correct teaching. And that's the reason for this channel. There's no other reason. It's my bodhisattva effort and our bodhisattva effort to grow knowledge about the correct teachings of Shakyamuni Buddha and his teaching of how we can all instantiate Buddha in our life, right? So with all of that said, thank you for being here, because your likes and your subscription to this channel is invaluable. It's our bodhisattva work. And to those of you, my patrons out there who are able to send funds to pay all of these fees and equipment and so on and so forth, so that I can continue to do this, and you support all of us in that effort. Thank you so much. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. You have bodhisattva status, yeah? Okay, without any further YouTube stuff, I get really tired of that stuff, but it's essential, so I have to talk about it. We're going to start a different Gosho today that I thought might have a lot of interesting info in it. This is from the writings of Nichiren Shonin. It says volume 1, but this is volume 2 of this collection, and this is on the doctrine. What we were reading from was, the first book on that. So I thought I'd jump books because content to me is premium. And I'm going to go ahead and read the introduction. The introduction, again, to remind you of who is introducing this, is the Nichiren Shu Overseas Propagation Promotion Association. And there's a list of authors of these varied writings. There's a whole list of them in the front. And I'll let you research that. There's no one that's specifically identified as the introduction person. I wish they would include that so we knew who was talking to us. But this is an interesting Gosho. The title caught my eye. A treatise revealing the spiritual contemplation and the most venerable one, by Nichiren, a Buddhist monk. The sacred title, the O Daimoku. And so that should be of interest to all of us, right? Whatever stage of this Lotus Sutra Buddhist practice we're at, what is the O Daimoku? And the chapter 1 of this, so this is another one of those long books that Nichiren wrote. The first thing he starts off, well, it's not the absolute first, but the O Daimoku, the first chapter after he starts, is the 3,000 existences contained in one thought moment, the ultimate doctrine of Grandmaster Tendai. So, as I've maintained many times, that is a central teaching to Nichiren's doctrine and central to understanding the self-practice of the Lotus Sutra, right? So let's read the introduction, see what he has to say. The full title of this writing is Nyorai Metsugo Gohyaku Sai Shinkanjin Honzonsho, a treatise revealing the spiritual contemplation and the most venerable one for the first time in the fifth 500-year period after the death of Shakyamuni Buddha. That's the full title. It was completed in the Ichinosawa section of Sado Island on the 25th day of the 4th month of the 10th year of the Bunei period in 1273, so about 9 or so years before Nichiren passed away. So this is, we should know, in the time period of Nichiren, this is his, I think his second exile to Sado Island. And as we know, if you've been following the history of Nichiren, his doctrine of the Lotus Sutra and his belief that, well, first of all, to correctly transmit Shakyamuni's teachings and to correct those errant schools around him that were Buddhist in name only, but really political entities, he railed against them, and he was, almost beheaded for it. He was exiled to Izu and then to Sado. And in those periods of exile, and these are harsh exiles, these exiles were meant to kill you. Let's put him in a drafty shack out in the winter cold on a tundra and just, let him fend for himself. Let's see how much his ideas last that. And basically it was, we'll just set him out there to die by himself. We won't be troubled with beheading him, because that didn't go so well, right? Tatsunokuchi, if you're curious. You can search that on the channel in the little search bar. Okay. My point was that his teaching kind of took more profound leaps with every persecution. Oh my. Sorry about that. It is spring after all. And so, counterproductive to the shogunate, exiling him actually made him more profoundly considered about his studies, his lifelong studies of Buddhism. And he would, in a way, you would say in modern terms, he doubled down. He could see the more he was persecuted, the more he was validated. It was like, well, I'm just a fisherman's son, and I understand this scholarship really well, and I can see where those other schools are doing it wrong, right? And with misinterpretations and so forth. But on the other side of things, Shakyamuni predicted that this would happen in this time period, that there would be a monk who would rise up amongst the others. There would be great conflict and argumentation between sects and groups and, organizations. And they would all be arguing out of ego and supremacy rather than from the teachings themselves. And so there had to be somebody to put order to this. It has happened cyclically throughout Buddhism. And I guess it's me now. Me, Nichiren, this poor fisherman's son, who sees clearly what needs to be done. And so two things happen in that. Number one, you're like, oh my, could this be my responsibility? What kind of responsibility, what a feeling of responsibility that would be. Holy crap, it's up to me, little old me. And then on the other hand, this has to happen. This is no accident. If Shakyamuni talks about it 3,000 years ago, here I am. Is there anyone else doing this? Hello? Is it just me? Holy crap, the responsibility of that, right? And on the other hand, you never forget that you're just a fisherman's son. How is it that this is for me to do? Obviously, this isn't aggrandizing me, a fisherman's son. This is aggrandizing the mission of Shakyamuni. And Shakyamuni used personages to talk about this kind of responsibility. And in this age, and with what I'm doing, Nichiren, I'm speaking as Nichiren now, this is how he describes Bodhisattva superior conduct or superior practice. Is that he's embodied the mission that I'm on in this character, this Bodhisattva Bodhisattva superior practices. So that's my guide. That's who I'm embodying in spirit. I'm still just Nichiren, fisherman's son. I have no illusions about that, but the mission I'm on is huge. No wonder I'm being persecuted this way. This is all written down. It's like I have a script to follow. Do you see what I'm saying? Talk about keeping your mind right, yeah? Nichiren could have easily become one of the other teacher monks around him who just got inflated ego from that kind of sensation and said whatever, but then he would have been like everybody else, right? He couldn't allow that because he was so smart, so enlightened in the scholarship of what Shakyamuni was teaching, that to violate that was unthinkable to him. So thank you, Nichiren, for being that clear-headed, yeah? All right, we're still in the introduction, mind you. Writing to Toki Jonin from the port of Teradomari in Echigo province, present-day Niigata prefecture, on the way to banishment on Sado Island, Nichiren Shonin mentions the 4 criticisms lodged against him. The last of the 4 was that Nichiren preaches only the doctrine without speaking of meditative practices. Responding to such criticism, Nichiren clarifies his ideological and religious, his scholarship foundation revealing the true meditative practices, and the most venerable one, while annotating Grandmaster Tendai's great concentration and insight as the source of the 3,000 existences contained in one thought moment doctrine. The title of this treatise means that this writing was the first revelation in the beginning of the latter day of degeneration of the true teachings of Shakyamuni Buddha, which had not been revealed for more than 2,220 years since his passing away. Consisting of 30 sets of questions and answers, his writing can be divided into 3 sections. Section 1, the sacred title, Odaimoku, Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, or Myoho Renge Kyo to be more specific. Section 2, the Honzon of the essential section. And section 3, the propagation of the true Dharma. So we're going to talk about the Daimoku, the Gohonzon, the mandala of Gohonzon. But he may be talking about the Gohonzon because of the instantiation in the mind of our realization of Buddha. That's the Gohonzon, not the mandala. The mandala is a picture of focused earthly samsaric mind and senses to penetrate back into one's own mind and instantiate Buddha. That is where the Gohonzon exists, in the mind, right? We'll see how this translation goes, but just a reminder. And section 3, the propagation of the true Dharma. Section 1, from the first question to halfway through the 20th answer, discusses the doctrine of the 3,000 existences contained in one thought moment. With regards to spiritual contemplation, kanjin, starting with the 18th answer, which is preceded by a reminder not to reveal what is said to the public, Nichiren develops his own interpretation of the 3,000 existences contained in one thought, Jugu no Ichinin Sanzen, and the true meaning of the Odaimoku. In the second section, the last half of the 20th question, Nichiren preaches the most venerable one based on the essential section of the Lotus Sutra. Finally, in the third section, Nichiren proves the truth of the Lotus Sutra through his own personal experiences, pointing out that the 5 characters of Myo, Ho, Ren, Ge, and Kyo are the panacea for the salvation of the people in the latter age, and that Nichiren is the very person who should spread them. Although he does not use the term kaidan, precept platform, it is generally accepted that he implicitly revealed it in this section. The original manuscript in Nichiren's own handwriting is kept as a treasure in the Hokkekyoji Temple in Nakayama section of Ichikawa City in the Chiba Prefecture. So this is an actual document now. Hopefully that's what we're reading consistently, right? But this is the introduction, and that's how it ends. And we now enter this dialogue. A treatise revealing the spiritual contemplation and the most venerable one, by Nichiren, a Buddhist monk. Section 1, the sacred Odaimoku. The 3,000 experiences contained in one thought moment, Ichinen Sanzen, doctrine, was first expounded by Grandmaster Tendai in his great concentration and insight, the Mohochi Kwan, Facile 5, Chapter 7. According to him, and a quote from that great concentration and insight, a mind by nature contains 10 realms of living beings, the realms of hell, hungry spirits, beasts, asuras, demons, men, gods, Shravakas, Pratyekabuddhas, Bodhisattvas, and Buddhas, right? The 10 worlds, we've often called them. But I like the realms. Worlds seem more fantasy-like for me as a Westerner. Realms, as a Westerner, seem more like I'm engaged in them, which is the point after all. Since these 10 realms contain one another, right, they're interpenetrant, there exist 100 realms in one mind. Constantly, we're sifting through these 100 realms, from hell to animality to Buddhahood to Bodhisattva. We're constantly doing this. Buddhist or not, by the way. Whether you're conscious that you're doing great actions to help others or not, that is a bodhisattva function. Although technically speaking, in Buddhism, bodhisattva specifically is about a characterization of mind that is helping others to attain Buddhahood. That is strictly the definition within Buddhism of what a bodhisattva is, right? This is our training to be bodhisattva. But non-Buddhists can act in bodhisattva ways, although the intent is far less ominent, or what's the word I want to use? In other words, to help somebody through a difficulty is to help them overcome obstacles toward living their life, right? In a very general sense. And you could say as a Buddhist that that opportunity being assisted allows for the life of a non-Buddhist to exist in better circumstance of any sort to lengthen their probability of running into the teaching of Myoho Renge-kyo. So in that way, it's a stretch, but in that way, it's not a non-bodhisattva act. It's just a very, an innate nature that hasn't fully blossomed. Until you practice Buddhism, that same act, then with the intent, see, attitude and intent, with the intent of seeing somebody reach toward their Buddhahood, that's the Buddhist definition of bodhisattva. Does it make sense? Okay. So, 10 realms, 100 realms, furthermore, each of these 100 realms consists of 3 factors. That is to say, living beings, the land on which they live, and the 5 elements of living being: matter, perception, conception, volition, and consciousness. Right? And these 5 elements that Tendai is eliciting here, and this is all on the threefoldlotus.com website, by the way. You can look up on the core studies material. There's a link there on the three factors and the 5 elements, and you can have a document as a backup for your study and to help you study with others. Okay, so don't forget threefoldlotus.com. And so with these 5, it's interesting they're called elements, right? Matter, perception, conception, volition, and consciousness. Those are all of the mind. The 5 elements of the mind, you could say, of consciousness itself, right? They're present in the 3 factors, which are living being and our environment, because actually they're all an experience together as one. We see them karmically, samsarically, as separate things. There's a me, there's a chair, there's a country, there's a planet. We see ourselves as separate things. But in truth, we're all together experiencing, being, and enduring, and expiring. Yeah? Everything is in this momentum, this inertia of energy, right? It also possesses 10 aspects, right? We chant those, Nyoze So, Nyoze In, Nyoze In, Nyoze Ka, Nyoze Ho, right? So here he lists them, the 10 aspects: form, nature, substance, function, action, cause, condition, effect, reward, and ultimately the equality of all these things, as I keep reiterating. We define them as separate things, when in actuality, they're just all aspects, the 10 aspects, right? Yeah. all happening at once together through time. Yeah? I know I've gotten this habit lately. I keep hearing myself doing that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I hope that's not annoying you. It's kind of annoying me, so I'm going to try to stop doing that. But the point being is that in this document of 10 Dais, right, centuries before Nichiren, this is all identified from the Lotus Sutra. Tendai was applying his scholarship in his day in 6th century, 7th century China, right? 700 years before Nichiren, or approximately. So if anyone, I think it's important to point this out because certain groups or organizations would have you think as you read Nichiren that this is all Nichiren's doing. Nichiren's just restating the scholarship of Buddhism all the way back to Shakyamuni. I'm not taking anything away from Nichiren, but I'm also not trying to deify Nichiren. That's a mistake. As I constantly point out, Nichiren saw himself as just another you and me. And in fact, this is what Shakyamuni did in the Lotus Sutra. He said, look, you guys see me as a human who just became a god, Buddha, but you don't understand. Buddha is something that's always existed. It exists in you. It exists in her. It's something that we can all instantiate. And this Lotus Sutra is a teaching of how to do exactly that. It has nothing to do with me, Shakyamuni, Siddhartha, personally, other than I realized it. And I'm now teaching all of you how to do the same. This is the amazing teaching of the Lotus Sutra. Everything before it was trying to get people to understand the nature of mind, how their minds worked, what could be done with proper attitude, proper practice, proper enlightenment, how to get there. And then ultimately in the Lotus, oh, by the way, you can do this right now. Forget all that hogwash about, a million lifetimes to get here. I was just teaching to what you were used to hearing. In India, there was so much magical thinking at the time of Shakyamuni. And we still have it today. This idea that you can't have a happy life until you don't have a life. That I don't understand how anyone can still think that way. That somehow this life is just for, atonement. Got to pay for your sins. Nah. You want to pay for your sins? Wake the hell up. Stop making them. It's just simple, right? But for some reasons, we humans were so attached. It's really hard to let go and then truly enjoy. See, that's a mental leap, right? This is what Buddhism is all about. You want to be happy. What that translates to is you need to stop stressing about everything. And why are you stressing about everything? Because all you want to do is own, have, don't lose, fear. Stop it. Not much easier said than done, right? This is our practice. Thus, 30 modes of existence are in one realm, 3,000 modes of existence in 100 realms. In short, 3,000 modes of existence are contained in a mind at any given moment. What does that mean, 3,000 modes of existence? If that doesn't mean experiencing, what does it mean? A mode of existence, it's an interesting translation, right? What is a mode? It's an experience of an action. Energy, action, karma. It's all the same rhetoric over and over and over again. We are a flowing stream. of energies. You and I, the chair, the phone, we're all just manifestations of potential flowing through time. And we experience that flow in 3,000 ways in every single thought moment. I can't say it fast enough. Birth. So there it is. This is the crux of Buddhism. When there is a mind, pay attention. When there is a mind, not where, when there is a mind, even for a momentary flash, 3,000 existences are in it. Thus, a mind is unfathomable. You can't quantify a mind. You can only experience it in situ, when it exists. When you die, it no longer exists. There's no mind, there's no experience, there are no modes. There is no thing, nomina. It's a simple formula. And the simplicity of it is what people have the greatest struggle with, right? Now, Nichiren continues. Oh, there's a note at the bottom. Yeah, it's the same thing. All right, so now we enter chapter 1. So it's interesting that he's given this description of the sacred title, Odaimoku, and hasn't really, has he even said it? Yeah, nowhere in that does he say the Daimoku. He's titled it the sacred title, Odaimoku. And what he's talked about is Ichinen Sanzen. Do you see how interpenetrating the Daimoku is this summation of the crux of Buddhism? It's not magic words, it's that it contains these concepts. See, we're used to in the West of words being like a mathematical formula of saying something. And they're immutable, those words. Not true, but we think of it that way. But you have to understand that in the days of teaching of Shakyamuni, Sanskrit and other languages like that were very much about singing, intonation, strength of words, and the words, the parts, the chunks of singing were conceptual. It's hard to think in English words to try to emulate that. It really is. But you could speak in concepts to people, in bracketed areas of mental investigation. And so this is the way to think about the Daimoku. They're not simply words or characters, as it were. They're symbols. And in combination, they affect and interpenetrate each other. And this is why we chant it. Chant comes from sing. Latin roots of language, right? Chanting is singing, just like a song. And when we sing a song, we have emotions and depths of memories and ways of thinking and ideologies that aren't necessarily the words themselves, right? Think poetry. So next chapter, we'll just get it started here because we have some time here. Chapter 1, the 3,000 existences contained in one thought, the ultimate doctrine of Grandmaster Tendai. So he's not done talking about this. Question 1. Grandmaster Tendai's three major works include the profound meaning of the Lotus Sutra, Fa Hua Xian Yi, words and phrases of the Lotus Sutra. I'm not going to try to say all this Chinese because I'm just going to murder the pronunciation, right? And in addition to the great concentration and insight, does he explain the term of the 3,000 existences contained in one thought? Notice he didn't say 3,000 realms in this question. He said 3,000 existences. Again, Buddhism is talking about an experiential thing, an experiential process, I should say. Right? 3,000 existences in a single thought moment. Oh, that sounds different, doesn't it? Again, it's about potential and manifestation. Potential existences, 3,000 of them in every single thought moment. Of those, somehow we filter out a particular singular or group of existences, and then we experience them, that we manifest. Or they manifest, and we experience the manifestation of. But we're in there the whole way through, right? That's incredible to think about a life in each single moment that I'm speaking to you right now. Hundreds of thousands of existences have potential to manifest. And somehow, with the influence of my samsaric mind and the study and everything else that I've poured into this mind, I'm selecting a certain grouping of those thousands and thousands of potential existences, and the ones that's being expressed and experienced is moment to moment manifesting, and then I'm into the next one. This stream, this constant flow. And ask yourself in that flow how immediately things can change. A rock comes through the glass. Oh, suddenly, of those existences and potentials, boom, I'm over into a whole nother groups of realms. Do I struggle to get back? Will I ever get back? Will I forever be influenced by that interruption? How will I integrate it? How will I move on? How will that affect future decisions, manifestations? How will I influence my own stream of energies? This is what we're doing constantly, right? This is why we chant, to realign. Let's get all those existences to go Buddha. Everything looks different from here. How do I maintain that so that as I go through the next moments, I carry with me that perspective, Buddha? That is coursing the world as Bodhisattva. Because with that mind, we influence in ways we don't even understand. Because we're not in other minds. Remember, the mind can't be fathomed. Not even our own. The best we can do, which is amazing, is to align it through Buddha-ness. Yeah? There it is. I tried not to say it, but it came out anyway. So answer, as Grandmaster Miao Lo points out, it is not explained therein. Well, a question, how about the words and phrases? Answer, Miao Lo says this work does not explain it either. Right? It's laid out by Tendai, but he doesn't dig into it profoundly. He moves on to ways of getting there, but he doesn't explicitly go any deeper than pointing it out. It wasn't the time. Question, where does he say so? I'm assuming the response to Miao Lo saying the work does not explain it either. Answer, in his annotations on the Great Concentration and Insight, Moho Chi Quan, the Fa Shuang Chuang, Hong Chu Chui, Miao Lo states that the term has not been revealed anywhere except in Tendai's Great Concentration and Insight. Well, that's interesting because Great Concentration and Insight is about the meditative spiritual practice of Buddhism, specifically the Odaimoku. Now do you see the relationship? Question, did Tendai explain the term in the first 4 facets of the Great Concentration and Insight? Answer, no, he did not. Question, do you have proof of that? Answer, according to the 5th facet of Miao Lo's annotations, Grandmaster Tendai for the first time applied the 3,000 existences contained in one thought doctrine as a guide to explain the way of meditation in the 5th facet, chapter 7 of his Great Concentration and Insight. Boom, there it is again. What I mean by there it is again is this is about focused meditation. Understand in focused meditation how your experience of life is constructed. Through 3,000 existences, you are manifesting this particular group at this particular moment. It's a construction of manifestations from potential, from this momentum that is life, the process, therefore, of life. Question 6. This is strange. The profound meaning, facile 2, says, quote, each of the 10 realms contains characteristics of the other 9 realms, making it altogether 100 realms. Since each realm contains 10 aspects, Nyose, 1,000 aspects exist in 100 realms. Is it not stated in the words and phrases, facile 1, quote, a mind contains 10 realms, each of which in turn contains 10 realms with 10 aspects in each realm, so there are altogether 1,000 aspects contained in the mind. And surely Grandmaster Tendai declares in his profound meaning of the Bodhisattva Avalokitesvara chapter, Kanyin, 10 realms possess one another, making 100 realms. Since each of the 100 realms contains 10 aspects, altogether 10 or 1,000 aspects are hidden in the mind. They do not reveal themselves before our eyes. Nevertheless, is there any doubt that they exist? Right? So the mind's nature is unfathomable. If we're making decisions right now in this moment, is it not logical to perceive that there are thousands of decisions available to us and we're simply picking out, not consciously picking out, but constructively picking out due to our momentum, a certain predilection toward certain actions? Make sense? Question, may I ask one more, whether or not, once more, 3,000 existences contained in one thought, doctrine, is explained in the first 4 facets of the Great Concentration and Insight? Answer, Miao Lo denies it. Okay, so again, it's not me, Nichiren, saying it, it's scholarship of Miao Lo, one of our more recent bodhisattvas, right? Question, how did he deny it? So this question seems to be an interlocutor. Remember, Nichiren is posing these questions, but there must be great questions about the order of thinking. And again, people get hung up on words, right? So it's a little bit annoying, but let's follow along and see where this goes. Answer, Facile 5 of Miao Lo's annotations on the Great Concentration and Insight states, quote, compared to the 7th chapter, in Faciles 5 through 10 of the Great Concentration and Insight, right way of meditation, how should one focus one's mind, right? The book's previous chapters do not preach the true way of practicing meditation at all. So that's pretty hard statement, isn't it? In other words, it's pretty definitive that before he expounded 3,000 realms in a single thought moment, he had not done so yet. How many times have we seen this in Buddhist teaching, right? Okay, I've been talking about this now for X amount of time. Now, I have not told you the crux of this, and I'm about to do so, right? In the teachings before this teachings, I have not yet revealed the truth. We hear this form a lot, right? So this is Tendai doing the same thing. What is preached in the first 6 chapters are the 25 practical means through which one will gradually deepen understanding of the true way of meditation. In other words, provisional. We hear that a lot, yeah? Sorry. That is to say, they are preliminary steps toward the true way, ellipsis. Explaining the true way of meditation in the 7th chapter of the Great Concentration and Insight, Grand Master Tendai resorted to the 3,000 existences contained in one thought doctrine. This is the ultimate and supreme teaching of Tendai. Therefore, Grandmaster Chang'an writes in the preface to Tendai's Great Concentration and Insight that Tendai reveals in it the truth of Buddhism as comprehended by his inner heart, his inner appreciation and understanding, right? How true it is. May those who try to read and understand this book never imagine that the truth of the Tendai doctrine lies anywhere but here. So the 3,000 realms in a single thought moment is so central to understanding Buddhism in its entirety that the scholarship around Tendai identifies it as the single most important discovery and elucidation that Tendai offered in his lifetime of study and scholarship. So how important is 3,000 realms in a single thought moment to the understanding of Buddhism? Actually, Nichiren goes on here, Grandmaster Tendai spread the teaching of the Buddha for 30 years, 29 of which he spent preaching his profound meaning, words and phrases, and other writings. He made it clear that the teaching of the Buddha in his lifetime can be divided into 5 periods and 8 teachings, 4 methods of teaching, as well as 4 doctrinal teachings. He revealed also that a mind at any moment contains 10 realms, from the hells up to the realm of Buddha, which contain one another, constituting 100 realms in a mind. Furthermore, each of those 100 realms possesses 10 aspects, right? Form, nature, substance, function, action, cause, condition, effect, reward, and ultimately equality of these aspects, right? From beginning to end. Therefore, according to Tendai, a total of 1,000 aspects are contained in a mind at any given moment. He criticized false doctrines put forth by various masters in the past 500 years since the introduction of Buddhism to China. He also expounded a unique doctrine which even commentators in India had never put forth. Grandmaster Chang'an, a direct disciple of Tendai, has stated, quote, "Great discourses of commentaries in India cannot compare with Grandmaster Tendai's doctrine, not to say opinions and comments of Chinese priest scholars. This is not boasting. His doctrine is incomparably superior." It is a pity, however, that Tendai scholars of later generations, surrendering to the founders of the Kigan, Flower Garland, and Shingon True Word schools of Buddhism, were robbed of this valued treasure, the 3,000 existences contained in one thought doctrine. The Grandmaster Chang'an foretold this when he lamented, quote, "If these words of Tendai should disappear, the future would be dark." Ugh. So we're going to end here. Yeah. And next time we'll start chapter 2 how 1,000 aspects contained in 100 realms and 3,000 existences contained in one thought differ. Now remember, we're talking a lot about 3,000 realms right now. I'm loving this Gosho. I'm so glad I picked it. Because the analogy Nichiren is making here is that when we chant Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, and for those of you who are new to this, pay close attention. These are not magic words. They are the invocation of the very fact and truth of 3,000 realms in every single thought moment. And when you're not busy focused on that mandala, chanting Namo Myoho Renge Kyo and doing Gangyo, and you have thought moments during the day about what 3,000 realms in every single thought moment means, just ponder that. If you have the opportunity to go sit by a stream or a body of water or calm and without the hustle and bustle of the world around you, sit and just consider what is going on in your mind right now. How does that work? And more to the point of your practice, how do I influence it? How do I take that tremendous momentum of 15 years, 20 years, 40 years, 60 years? How do I take that freight train of me-ness, me-ness, and move it? It's moving already. I just need to influence the trajectory toward Buddha. You do it every time you chant. But consider with your samsaric mind the effort, the amazement. Yeah? It's your practice. It's so amazing. With conviction, Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Yeah? Did it again. All right, I'm going to let you go. Thank you so much for participating, for listening. Don't forget, like, subscribe, share if you like. Download the podcast so you can hang on to them, listen to them anytime. Don't forget to use the other resources, threefoldlotus.com, the bookstore, the mandala store. Please get a mandala if you don't already have one. And I will see you in the next one. Okay? Bye for now.